Hey everybody, welcome back to QOTD. This is the game show that lets you be on the air, and you are watching our daily recap. So you can join us here on the air by recording your video answers to our awesome daily questions.
And you can also join us by voting for your favorite answers to determine who makes it to the weekly Big Show Championship that happens on Thursdays at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time.
We're going to show you how to make it on the air with us for our Thursday Big Show. And we're also going to take a look at one of our favorite fan answers to today's question, which has to do with the trippy dippy topic of prescribed psychedelics for mental health.
A very good topic, I will say. Very interesting, very current, and a lot of different ways you can think about it. But before we get to today's question, we should first talk about our week's answer leaders so far, and we can begin that discussion with Friday's question, which is, what is one skill you wish you learned when you were younger? Here are our top 3 answers. Thank you all for submitting your answers so far. I think we've talked about this question a little bit. I think I'm still kind of on the juggling phase, but I might be getting more and more turned on to the language side. Might download Duolingo later today.
Yeah, I also thought Smiley was really compelling. You know, his argument about, well, music, as you guys can see. That's worthwhile. On Saturday, our also very interesting QOTD of the day was, if you were a celebrity kid, some people call it a Nepo baby, who would you choose, if you could, for your parents to be? Are you going to choose some like famous diplomat, or maybe you're going to go with somebody who has like amazing skills, like a musician or a basketball player, maybe just like fame and fortune, who knows? But if you could choose your parents so you could inherit their superpowers, who would you choose to be? So Aaron, Brandon, and Hector all have super interesting questions. That's why they are the top answers so far this week.
Nice. Yes, I'm choosing for my parents the entire cast of The White Lotus. So next up we have Sunday's question, which is, what is one thing your parents taught you that you will pass down to your kids? Speaking of parents and kids, I think we've talked about this question a lot. This is in honor of Mother's Day, of course, which was this past Sunday. And I think one piece of advice that I've sort of gotten from my parents and from a couple of other people, including Trish, thank you, is not to sweat the small stuff, and everything is small stuff.
Well, here are our top 3 answers for Monday's question. What fashion trend from the past do you wish would come back? Wondering if you miss shoulder pads, apple-bottom jeans, boots with the fur. We got a ton of answers on this. So much fun.
Wait a second. Apple-bottom jeans. I know bell-bottom jeans, and I obviously have heard the phrase, but that's like actually like a jean style? Well, I've got research to do. I don't know what that is.
Same.
So I guess with no further ado, allow us to move into the big announcement, the reveal of today's question of the day. Though I should say that people who are subscribers to us on YouTube or followers on Twitch or registered members of our site already know this answer because they got the announcement last night. You guys could do it too. Click the subscribe button. You'll be the first to get the QOTD. But for those of us who are perhaps less fortunate and clicky, what is today's question of the day? Allow me to tell you. If doctors could be allowed to, should they be allowed to prescribe psychedelics for your mental health? So this is doctors being allowed to prescribe something that is not necessarily legal to say recreationally, but could they do it if they really thought that it was best for you? And I think it's a super interesting question, because on the one hand, you know, there is this evidence that's coming out saying, you know, that there are benefits. And I'll talk specifically about psilocybin, where I know that there was tons of testing done on soldiers returning from overseas with PTSD or rescue workers who were involved in 9/11. And these guys had become deeply depressed and violent. And that in some cases, psilocybin helped these guys develop new neural pathways and break out of these bad, you know, habits and negative cycle. But on the other hand, we also know that in this kind of post-lockdown time, that there are lots of people who are having trouble with addiction, problems with drugs. And we're talking about a lot of young people with depression and the growth of suicide. And a lot of this is related to their use of certain drugs. So this is kind of the question. Are we going to allow these like kind of new use of drugs, or are we going to kind of say that people should like deal with stuff because drugs have this negative side effect. I think it's a super interesting question. That's what I think. But what do the fans have to say? That's what I want to say. Because there should already be a couple of answers out there, right?
Yeah, no, there are. And I definitely agree. It's a very interesting question. And we have some very interesting answers from fans already from across the world. And so what better time than now to look at one of our early favorites. So receiving the honor of highest opinion holder, we have Becca's answer. Let's see what she has to say on this very interesting topic.
So I don't know much about psychedelics and their effects on people with mental health conditions, but speaking from a perspective as if I was a doctor, I think I would say I wouldn't do it just because it seems very scary and crazy. But if it was something that absolutely helped them, it was the only thing that worked, yeah. So I don't think it shouldn't be allowed, but I don't necessarily think it should be done unless it's completely necessary. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense, Becca. You're advocating caution, right? Only if it's really necessary. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I guess it's different, but maybe it's really not. I mean, doctors prescribe things all the time, right? And they're dangerous, which is why they're considered to be controlled substances. We don't allow it to be recreational. I mean, you can't go out and just get, walk to the store and go and buy Adderall, right? You need a prescription for that kind of thing. So yeah, that's what she's saying, that doctors should do what doctors do, which is to exercise caution, do no harm, use their better knowledge to prescribe. So thanks, Becca. But I don't know, where do you stand on this?
I agree with her. I feel the same way that Becca does, because I have the fear of the unknown also. But all medicine, don't we want advancements all the time in medicine and everything? Everything is unknown at some point. And hopefully they've just gone through all of the testing and the trials that they need to do. Look how scared people were of, any sort of anything that comes out.
Let's just say, certain vaccines.
Yes.
But and there was this whole new class of vaccines, the mRNAs, that everybody was afraid of. Mm-hmm. And now, gosh, what was the new one that they were talking about? Now they're about to come out with a universal flu virus. So you just take one. It's good for years, right? That's to this kind of new advancement. So yeah, we want new things.
True. Yeah, well, I mean, I definitely agree that it's definitely good to have some caution about it, and it's also a very strong form of treatment. But I did see there was a documentary on Netflix called How to Change Your Mind, I think, and it sort of gets into the history of using psychedelics for therapy and how different cultures have done it. And it's definitely it kind of showed me at least the positive sides and how effective it can be at treating the mental health issues that we were talking about earlier. I think they talked about using it for PTSD and how people who did the treatment saw drastic positive changes in their life. And so I definitely think it's for me, definitely good to have some caution. It's definitely something new for a lot of people, but it does have some history, and it seems to be working pretty well.
Yeah, and I think this is to what Trish was saying, where it's hey, we want new things. It's far from being a new thing. I mean, the use of psychedelics predates medicine by tens of thousands of years. It's just that we don't do it now because we are people of science and we like things that comes out of test tubes. But that being said, it was typically done under guidance and supervision. Maybe it wasn't a doctor, maybe it was a spiritual leader, shaman type thing, but it was not something that people took for fooling around, right? It was a serious thing. And I think that it was being done in a sense as a treatment, even back then. Could you imagine the emotional challenges that people had when they were subsistence farming or hunting and gathering? It must have been just crazy. You were barely clinging to life, and people needed that kind of break. And I think that they found it through these things. So that is an argument for. I will also say, having read this article in science.com today, which was, referring to a New York Times article, they were saying hey, don't go around licking toads because they're poisonous, right? And, you're pulling them from these toads are dying off because people are collecting them, but there are all these fauna and flora out there that people are using as psychedelics, but they're not to be toyed with, and they can be very harmful. If you lick a toad, you could die. So don't do that, But so, caution, I think, is what's required. And yet it's also very promising. I think that for once we all landed on the same page.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. No, very good to know. Definitely good to consider psychedelic therapy, but please don't lick toads. Please don't lick toads. I don't know if we need to tell you, but please don't.
Imagine someone taking a picture of you licking a toad. That will keep you from licking a toad. You don't want that picture.
Exactly. Well, I think we've talked this question through, I think, a lot of different facets of it. So I think we've kind of covered a lot of most of the question. But as we know, as we've alluded to, today's question is not the only one you can answer. We have so far 4 other questions this week, which I think are, I don't want to say just as interesting, but still extremely interesting topics on a variety of different topics. And so I thought we could take a look at one of our favorite answers to one of those questions. So we're receiving the honor of brightest little star for Saturday's question, which was, if you were a celebrity kid, who would you want your parents to be? We have Jay's answer. Let's take a watch.
Could it be the Obamas? Because then it's just afternoon driveway hoops with Barack, and then a delicious healthy meal with Michelle, mom and dad, and then they're off working on their books, and I'm just tooling around the house with all the money and past fame. Man, it's the best.
Do you think the Obamas have Xbox? I mean, what are you doing when you're hanging out there while everybody's off doing important things?
Well, you know that they've got to have a basketball court because Barack is like basketball crazy.
Yeah.
There's that.
But when you
I
get
don't know.
talk, can't you play some videos, or are they against it sort of thing?
I don't know. Let's send them notes, see if they'd be interested in coming on QOTD with us.
Yeah. We've got a question of the day for you, Obama.
Well, fans, you've got 2 days left to submit your own answers for your very own chance to appear on our Thursday Big Show. That's our super fun finale. It's hosted by Keith, JJ, Reed, and I, where we go over the best of the best videos of the entire week. That's every Thursday at 8:30 a.m. on YouTube, Twitch, and right here at beyondtheair.com.
Yes, to record your answer for that big show, you can go to beyondtheair.com and click the orange record button under the 24/7 live game stream. Remember, you can still answer today's question or any of this week's other questions. So let us know your opinions on psychedelic therapy. Tell us who you would want your famous parents to be, and for your chance to join us on the air.
That's right. While you're over on beyondtheair.com, you can also play the guess and bid game. It's another way to get on the air. If you bid stars for the videos from other people, perhaps, who you think are totally going to win, when they win, you also win. You move up the leaderboard. And if you're on the top of the leaderboard, you show up in the daily recap like Mary H there. Number 1.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And a very special thank you to everyone who has watched, voted, and recorded so far this week, and to our subscribers. We are QOTD and beyondtheair.com signing off, and we'll see you on TV.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
I think that maybe they were PlayStation people.